Alarmed by the triple clang, Cedric stood up unsteadily and peered disbelievingly into the turgid waters of the toilet bowl. There, glinting in the base of the bowl, he made out 3 large, perfectly oval eggs that seemed to Cedric's bemused gaze to be painted gold. After several seconds of trepidation, he mustered up the courage to bend over and reach gingerly into the bowl to raise the strange objects to the surface. To his touch they felt metallic, uncrumblingly solid, and of some considerable weight as he drew them one by one from the bowl and placed them by his feet. Out of the water they appeared even more golden and impressive. Where could they have come from? Shooting into the bowl from some invisible source? Cedric scanned the toilet urgently for a possible avenue of entry, but in the end could see none, until finally an impossible, implausible possibility. But no, such things didn't happen in real life. And yet, could it be, he wondered in growing alarm, could it be that the 3 glittering objects lying indisputably at his feet had actually emanated from himself, had been emitted by his, Cedric's, very own bowels? Had he perhaps unwittingly ingested them in the course of his supper? Had they perhaps slipped unseen into his sausage, or been camouflaged by the potato salad, or been embedded in the vanilla ice cream dessert? But surely he would have noticed 3 such large alien bodies, and they would surely have lodged in his throat, causing pain, discomfort, or choking. Finally, in the absence of any other rational explanation, the amazing, incredible, awesomely horrifying truth dawned. He, Cedric Bates, an otherwise very ordinary Englishman, had effectively done what no human being had ever done before him in the whole of recorded human history. He had laid golden eggs, not 1, but 3, what might be termed a triumph in a moment of linguistic frivolity, which this most definitely was not. After carefully locking the 3 golden eggs away in the deepest recesses of his bedroom cupboard, Cedric spent a sleepless night, wrestling with a plethora of dark and sinister thoughts, only comforted by the sobering reflection that when he got up the next morning he would discover that it was all a cruel nightmare, a figment of his imagination brought on by the stress of daily existence or overwork, or even by a dangerous excess of pesticides in his fruit and vegetables, and would find that the golden eggs had vanished and that he was thankfully a normal, healthy human being after all. But now, alone in bed in the dark, he was assailed by wild imaginings, the like of which he had never experienced before in his 43.5 years on earth. A clamouring mob of rough questions demanded answers. Was it a one-time event, a cruel fluke of nature, or would he be permanently condemned to lay golden eggs till the end of his days? Each time he answered nature's call. Could he possibly prevent or at least curb the phenomenon by following a special liquid diet? Would he be safe from unscrupulous characters or gangsters who might kidnap him to profit from his curious propensity once the news got out? How could he keep it a secret from the prying media hounds who would splash his story and picture over every front page of the global press? And yet, amid the tormenting torrent of agonizing questions to which he had no answer, Cedric became dimly aware of a silver lining in his predicament that increasingly dispersed the dark clouds of the unknown as dawn broke, and put a rather more attractive complexion on his complex condition. If this had been a nightmare after all, there was nothing to worry about, because the eggs didn't exist. And even if they did and were really gold, then he was assured of a very comfortable existence for the rest of his days, since gold, he knew, was a very valuable and much sought-after commodity, and in demand all over the world. Why? He might in fact be a walking gold mine, producing gold almost at will. And Cedric, the confirmed bachelor who had never known romance, and who presumed that his looks had all along repelled the fair sex, reflected that he might henceforth become rather more desirable to the average female than hitherto, if not for his external appearance, then more predictably for his unique internal metallic gifts. Was it not a fact that some of the world's wealthiest men were also extremely ugly, bald, bow-legged, and bloated, and yet married to ravishing and apparently deeply devoted and doting beauty queens? Gold was power. As might be expected, so many conflicting and disturbing thoughts jostling fiercely for supremacy in Cedric's mind did not make for peaceful slumber, and the first rays of dawn found him bleary-eyed and exhausted from lack of sleep. His first thought was to go and open the cupboard to check if the offending eggs had vanished with the night, as he felt they must have, or else still nestled provocatively where he had placed them. Bracing himself, gripped by an uncontrollable mixture of excitement and apprehension, and taking a deep breath, he opened the cupboard door. They were there all right. They had not vanished or disintegrated. They gleamed at him goldenly from the recesses of the cupboard shelf, gloatingly, as if daring him to touch them. And Cedric did not dare. He quickly closed the cupboard door and sat on the edge of his bed to reflect on the situation, stunned by the terrifying reality that the night had not dissipated, and which he must now confront, taking his new destiny in both hands, as it were, something which he knew he had conspicuously failed to do in his life to date. Failure had seemed to dog his every step almost from day one of his reluctant entry into the world. However, now Cedric was gradually becoming aware that all of this could be about to change. The eggs might present a golden opportunity for him to amaze his elderly parents with a vision of a Cedric they had long ago despaired of ever seeing. Cedric came and went like a pale shadow, with nothing to show for his earthly sojourn but a name, an address, and a pet cat. Cedric's parents, overcome and overjoyed by the arrival of a long-awaited heir, had bestowed on him the name Cedric, an uncommon enough name in the modern high-tech post-Glasnost era, but to them it harked back to the glory days of Anglo-Saxon kingships, of Arthur, Camelot, and Lancelot, of Alfred and his cakes. But now, all of a sudden, Cedric sensed that his parents, in naming him thus, had displayed a remarkable prophetic gift for seeing far ahead into his future. All of a sudden he saw his name in a new light, a unique, heroically uncommon name, no longer tarred with the obsolete brush of ages past, but risen phoenix-like from the ashes of a useless, drab, and unproductive existence, to sparkle and glitter with a golden sheen. But Cedric would not be Cedric if this sudden surge of hope was not swiftly and agonizingly overtaken by a rising tide of doubt, as an urgent question now surfaced to demand an answer. How can I prove that these eggs are golden? Might they not be simply fool's gold? It was at this juncture that nature intervened forcefully once more, summoning him to the same toilet where his strange adventure and his bowels had been set in motion the previous evening. Sitting on the toilet seat once more, prey to a host of conflicting reflections, he released the contents of his insides. Clang, clang, clang! The triple clang in the depth of the toilet bowl rang out alarmingly in Cedric's consciousness, like the very dirge of doom. And so yet again, as if driven by an irresistible force, on very unsteady legs, Cedric hauled himself upright, then turned to peer, incredulous and fearful, into the turgid waters of the toilet bowl, where he made out 3 large, solid-looking, perfectly ovoid golden eggs, perhaps even a trifle larger than the first batch he had delivered. In his anguish and perplexity, Cedric blurted out accusingly, as much to his bowel system as to the 3 newcomers placidly reposing in the depth of the bowl, "This is getting to be beyond a joke." 6 eggs in the space of 24 hours. At this rate Cedric would become a mass producer, a human Fort Knox, but far more vulnerable and insecure than that venerable and highly respected gold bullion repository. Later, after safely depositing the three newcomers beside their fellows in the cupboard, their temporary and blatantly insecure abode, Cedric made a fateful decision. Dear reader, in Cedric's place, faced by such a terrifying dilemma, what would you do?